us all. Let me know that love can heal us all. Oh, let me know that love can heal us all. Let me know that love can heal us all. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me share the good that's overflowing.
Let me share
the good that's overflowing. Oh, let me care what goes around the world. Let me care what goes around the world. Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way. Oh,
let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me serve in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me share the good that's overflowing.
Let me share
the good that's overflowing. Oh, let my steps reveal a path of peace. Let my steps reveal a path of peace. Oh, let me talk each day a little kindness. Let me talk each day a little kindness. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way.
Here we go.
Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way.
Let me love
in a holy, holy way. Good morning, Granada Hills. Happy Sunday.
Carefully, your cord. Yeah. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. Yeah, yeah.
All right. How are we all doing? Good. Good to see you all. It was nice to have a week off last Sunday, but I was watching, and I know who was here last week. So welcome back. And let's welcome our assistant minister and thank Reverend Nancy for a good job last week. And I've got to stop whacking my gizmo here. I keep doing this, and that's the noise you're hearing. I'm letting Mike know. It's on me, man. Okay. So let's bring down the lights and take a deep breath. And release. Let go. Allow ourselves to surrender and claim this eternal now moment as our own as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all people and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here at our center. And as Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
And I feel that there's a lot of that love in this room today. Love for life, love for being, love for spirit, and love for living. So a consciousness of love is a consciousness that is able to do all things. So as we open our hearts and our minds and in recognition of this divine presence that we are describing as love today, we open it to welcome ourselves to this moment and to this time and to this hour we have chosen to sit in this awareness, sit into this understanding that the infinite intelligence has guided and directed our moves, our thoughts, and our being to be in experience at this moment. One in which we open ourselves to experience and to express that divine presence with each other. Knowing that this unified awareness expands what we are able to experience. Knowing that in each other we find the mirror of being. Knowing that in each other we become well fed. So as we spend this hour together, we know that the music brings us joy. The message feeds us understanding. The greeting shares a loving presence. All aspects of this hour that we spend together is a divine event. So it's with great joy and appreciation I welcome this opportunity to acknowledge Spirit's presence in all, through all, and as all. And this wondrous law of being that says yes to the words we place in it, the thoughts we give at this moment. And we acknowledge and appreciate that. And we do so together as we say, and so it is. Thank you all for being here. Today I wanted to share that I'm going to say I have an expanded appreciation for that divine presence being in everybody. I realize that we often say that and we see that. But today, I was looking for what was to be shared and I had this idea and it shifted. And so what it shifted to, because of the work that I was doing this morning about where I was feeling, what I was feeling, and everything, homes and Rumi and all of them kept telling me that the greatest thing that I can experience is to see the divine presence in everybody. You ever get this urge that you want to know how to feed everybody and to make sure no children are suffering, and you want to do all these things? And so I think that my spirit was answering me this morning. It said, see the divine presence in all people, in all things. And of course, Holmes comes back and says, to see the divine presence in everybody else, you got to see it in yourself. Somehow he always brings it back to that point. But I appreciate that. I appreciate the idea because actually, that makes it easier. I can see it. It's when you stand up here, this is a divine event because, see, when I stand up here, it's easy to see it in the people in front of me, Sometimes I have to work to see the people in front of me when I'm not in church. But it's easy here. But strengthening the awareness that this divine presence is in me and having a better relationship is what's going to strengthen my ability to see it out there. And that's the same message, it seems like, keeps coming up. I know y'all, if being here for a while, you have read that at least once somewhere. Say it in our souls. But I really have a greater appreciation for it because, to me, each one of them said, and I'm beginning to understand our teachers are really trying to tell us to wake up and look within from every angle that they can do it. That I can do it better if I can strengthen my own awareness of spirit in me, then I would be able to see it out there in the world a little better. And also, having a spiritual community where you can come and look at it in all these faces and let them be mirrors for me helps too. And I'm sure Reverend Mike would witness this, that when you stand up here and you look at the people and you understand that everybody looking at you is kind of believing in spirit too, you just kind of say, all right, it's a feeder. And you want to keep doing it. See how they blush it?
Thank you.
That was my witness. And I want to thank you all for letting me share that.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Happy early Easter and Passover to everybody. Please welcome Mr. David Olivas on the keys and the saxophone. Too much delay. And we are thrilled to have our singer here, and thank you very much for singing. I really appreciate it. Please welcome Miss Angela Carol Brown. 2, 3.
How many roads you've tried, how many dreams you've chased, across sand and sky and gravel, looking for one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Will you make a smoother landing when you break your fall from grace into the arms of understanding, looking for one safe place? Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, life is trial by fire. Love's the sweetest taste, and I pray it lifts us higher to one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How many roads we've traveled, how many dreams we've chased, across sand and sky and gravel, looking for one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place. Yeah, 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 one safe place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's me. So how we doing? I'm your announcement guy today. All right, so there's a lot of stuff to do this week. So everyone has a program, yes? All right, if you don't get one on your way out. So the first thing you need to know about this program is here's the calendar. Everything's on it. See this sheet here? These are all the various ministries. Look at all the things that we do here. All the various ministries. Make sure you check that out and avail yourselves of. There's lots of great things to do and lots of great people to do it with who would love to be your new best friend. So check it out. So now for the events that are, on Wednesday, there's a little ticket in here. Did you see that cool little ticket? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Kirtan Kara this Wednesday. Kirtan Kara. And on the back side, bam, Bohemian Rhapsody, a little film thing, so check that out. And then, May the 3rd be with you, which is our Star Wars thing that we're doing. So we need donations for the silent auction, and we need, if you have tickets for baseball games, basketball games, if you know someone who can get a walkthrough on a movie set or on a TV show, these are all great fun things that can be done. And if you're watching online, rack your brain and think of something that you can contribute. Also, we're looking for folks to, if you can't make it, maybe you can sponsor a ticket for someone who would like to go and who's on a fixed income. So that's something else that could be done. And so that's in there. Yes, 2 minutes. 1 minute, better. Use the force, it's within you. That's your message today? That's like 10 seconds. All right, so it's all in here. And then, of course, next Saturday morning is the LA River cleanup. If you haven't done this yet, and last year you went, oh man, I wanted to do that and I forgot, don't forget. Stick this in your pocket right now. And it's a great way to serve the planet and to meet all kinds of really great people. And also, you will see in the, we now have accommodations on the offering envelopes. If you want to get into automatic giving, you can do that as well. Okay? Any questions? Yes.
One more week left before the cost of our spring fling tickets change. So you might want to come out to Sparks Hall after services, Judy. And Judy is the one that's taking credit cards, cash, and everything else. Me too. I have some tickets. You have tickets.
Okay.
We all have tickets. Everybody has tickets.
So do you understand what's going on there? We're trying to get pre-sales. So if you get in this week to get your pre-sale ticket, you'll save some money. Okay? All right. That's it. Thank you for being so attentive.
So, would you stand and say the Declaration of Principles with me? We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically
heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I am the hands, I am the voice of spirit on earth, and who I am, and all I do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world.
Here we go.
Is a blessing to the world. Is a blessing to the world.
You guys sound pretty good this morning. Boy, there's a lot going on, isn't there? On Thursday night, I forgot to mention Anton and Laura are back in town too. So we don't usually have things going on Thursday night. So that's a wonderful music thing. If you've ever had a massage in your life, you probably had a massage to Anton and Laura. So come get massaged. Get your eardrums massaged. And your heart as well. So it's a lovely evening. So a lot going on. So come join us. And I would just like to thank Reverend Nancy for holding down the fort last week. I don't like taking Sundays off, but I have to say I quite enjoyed myself last week. So it was a nice break, and so if you were here last week, I'm looking forward to meeting you. And of course, it's always good to see old friends back in the service. So this but I have the Whoosy widget of the whatchamacallit is right here. Okay. So we're speaking to diversity this month. So in Centers for Spiritual Living, of course, we're working with this monthly theme. And this month we're working with the idea that we want to promote diversity and inclusion. And this is a theme that has worked its way into the Centers for Spiritual Living internal conversation that is a call to examine how we as an organization present ourselves to the world. So in this teaching that really is pretty wide open, it's very liberal teaching that has no dogma except when we do, and when we do, we need an organization to make sure that it's enforced. No, that it's encouraged, right? And because it is a teaching that encourages, we're open at the top, right? So there's a lot of mavericks out there, spiritual mavericks out there doing their thing. And so the home organization provides these really pretty loose guidelines except for practitioner and ministerial training. So organizationally, there's this commitment to promote diversity and inclusion. And what this means is, should one hold a picture up as the leadership of the Centers for Spiritual Living organization, then the question to ask is, does it reflect people of color, women, LGBTQs, or even how about youth and aging, right? So there's kind of a controversy going on right now on the minister's listserv. And that is that they decided that they were going to let, if you read Science of Mind magazine, you may have noticed that there's a lot of next-gen talk going on in there. And apparently some of the ministers are not liking that so much. It's because they've asked those under 50 to contribute to, because they want to youth up the focus for next year. And so there's a lot of concerns around ageism around that, which, you know, I don't blame them, frankly, because now that I'm 80, it's really starting to annoy me. No, but really, this whole conversation, you know, I realize that as I'm exploring these things, that I am a white middle-aged male, which is what a lot of this concern is about. So, how about the youth and the aging? So in this way, Centers for Spiritual Living is challenging all of our home centers and the ministers and boards who lead them to understand that diversity is part of life, is an expression of life, and that inclusion is a choice. Inclusion is a choice, and it's a choice by every one of us who's in spiritual community. Every one of us, right? Because every time we see a new face is an opportunity to practice inclusion, right? Every time we hear someone who has a belief system that's different from our own outside of this place, or maybe even inside of this place, it's an opportunity to practice choice, to practice inclusion. For Ernest Holmes said that behind all is a unity, through all is diversity, and saturating all is divinity. Saturating all is divinity. So Ernest Holmes, like the Transcendentalists before him, and the Enlightenment thinkers before them, and even Aquinas or Plato before them, came to see that nature was a reflection of how the very mind of the Creator, whatever it may be, works. So they became willing to notice that their thinking, they needed to think outside the box to have a greater experience of life, that they were willing to think outside the box of traditional Judeo-Christian thinking in this way. Looking to nature, right? So looking to nature then, they asked this question: how does the mind of the Creator work? Do we see any evidence of that when we look to nature? And if we look to nature, we shall get not only a hint to what the Creator has made, right? Because we start classifying things and we start noticing the way things are put together, that we notice that the creation has been made, and that is including you and I, right? So we notice not only what it has created, but also how it creates. So in other words, we begin to identify and to use laws of nature. So in this creation then, there appears to be a set of laws that when taken together appear to be intentional, or if not intentional, that there is certainly an impulsion or a force behind all of it. And further, that the dynamic power behind all of creation is that the universe, the way it is constructed, is a reality that is continuously evolving. In fact, that nothing is permanent. So Buddhist philosophers, Hindu philosophers, figured that one out a millennia ago, or maybe even longer. Reality is continuously evolving, and today we call that dynamic evolution. So that evolution then is both dynamic and a process. And the natural product of this dynamic process is diversity. Now, why am I belaboring this point? And what does it have to do with religious science? Well, I wanted to establish this thinking because today, like so much of our public discourse, when you speak to diversity inclusion, there's all this other stuff now that gets hung on it. Right? That there's all of these now political connotations or moral considerations that now can get into the way of our thinking. Right? And what we're just saying, science is just observing what's out there. And when we look out at nature, what we see is diversity, right? So if the Creator wanted to just have an animal that went around and picked up loose food and stuff, it could create a thing called a bird. And that it was highly mobile, it could even fly, and could go around and clean up after everything. Right? But there's not only one species of bird, is there? There's like 14,000 species of birds. And subspecies under that. So remember, the whole origin of the species began with the naturalist Charles Darwin observing what? Finches and iguanas in this isolated island in the middle of the ocean. And even still, they're isolated and left to itself. Diversity. Diversity expresses itself. So, we live in a diverse universe. That it is part of the natural order of things, and it is the logical expression of reality. So this to unhitch the wagon from the political stuff around diversity. So it's a natural outcome of dynamic evolutionary processes. It is a demonstration of natural law. And where diversity is law, so here's the key thing for us. Where diversity is a law of nature, inclusion is a choice. Inclusion is a choice. And you know what? It turns out that for human beings, basically, even all mammals have a little bit of it within their species, right? But for human beings, we alone have the choice of inclusion for all of life. For all of life. And you could even say that we have a responsibility. Because we are not only have evolved into being thinking beings, but we can think about thinking. And when we can think about thinking, we can also take responsibility for our actions. And now we're getting somewhere. Although it took us like 50,000 years, right, in the evolution of what? Maybe the physical being, right? Maybe that's going on, but certainly much faster than that is the evolution of what? Of consciousness, right? And consciousness, not being the hippy-dippy word of the 60s that we maybe heard bantered about or maybe even used, but consciousness meaning all we think, consciously, which is a very small part, and unconsciously, which is a larger part of our thinking, right? Because the fact of the matter is that we forgot a lot of stuff. Maybe that's not your experience, right? So, inclusion is a choice. So in the case of our spiritual center there, which is where we practice this philosophy, we practice this philosophy here so we can take it out there. How are we doing with this diversity inclusion thing? Are we diverse and are we inclusive? And I would say that we are probably B plus, A minus. Right? So we have people of color, we do have representatives of the LGBTQ community, but it is run by a middle-aged white guy. So, right? But I have a soulful spirit. I just want to say that. I know it's silly, but I really did want to be Lou Rawls when I was a kid. You'll never find, for as long as you live. I can't get that gravelly whiskey voice, though. Anyway, which is good for you. All right, so man's three greatest needs: to feel that he is needed, wanted, and loved. The three greatest needs of man. That to feel he belongs to the universe in which he lives, and to have an object or objects upon which to shower his attention. The three greatest needs of men, Ernest Holmes. So in terms of spiritual community then, right, we need to apply the fortune cookie exercise to this expression here. So the fortune cookie exercise is what? It's quality rather than quantity that matters. Do a good job tomorrow, and it's a fortune cookie, so you add in bed. Very good. So do a good job tomorrow in bed. So, but we're not going to do in bed. No, because we are here on a Sunday morning. We're going to say in spiritual community. See, if you ate Chinese food, you'd know this. Okay. So, all right. So, backing it up. To feel that he is needed and wanted and loved in spiritual community. Okay. To feel he belongs to the universe in which he lives in spiritual community. Very good. And to have an object or objects upon which to shower his attention in spiritual community. Now, that's a lot more clever than you thought it was at the beginning, right? Okay. So, but we'll look at this instead because I can see that was kind of a dud. Now, but if you take this practice, right, in spiritual community, right, and to know these truths, right, these truths, so and to extend them to this idea in my city, right, in my state, in my country, for my planet, right? Now we're getting somewhere, yeah? This builds consciousness, right? Certainly it builds awareness, and awareness then builds consciousness. So we're getting somewhere. So this exercise, this is an exercise for us to realize that as we want these things for ourselves, so too does everyone else. And when it comes to the outer world, then the question is, does it reflect these ideas? Well, that is kind of a yes and no answer. All right, so we can look around in the outer world and we can certainly see diversity. And we can even see how diversity is much more visible than it was certainly in the 60s, but even 20 years ago. And as a member of the dominant group, right? As a member of the dominant group, that should be enough, right? I mean, there's only so much room. There's only so much resources. And inclusion is expensive. So be patient. Be silent. Be a good Christian. Be a good patriot. Your day is coming someday. So if this kind of thinking bothers you or not, I think one thing that we can all agree on in the outer world is that solutions to complex problems have complex answers, and that these complex answers have complex considerations, that there's no simple answer for any of it. And yet we look out there and we see the divisiveness. And to acknowledge that we're all educated people. We are all educated people after all. I don't know what the numbers would be, but we all can read in this country. That's kind of a huge thing as far as the development of humankind, that in the Western world, most of its citizens can read. This is huge. We're all educated people. And yet, there are deeper movements at the subconscious level for all of us that influence our thinking. So the social psychologist John Hyatt has some really great experimentation around this. And he speaks to how we are actually driven subconsciously by emotional reactions that we're not even really aware of that are driving us in certain areas. So have you wondered why we're not hearing conversations, say, let's just pick in the political realm, that where people are actually having conversations going back and forth to try and sort things out, right? So currently that doesn't appear to be happening. So why is that, right? Why is it at the dinner table like around holiday time, right? There's not this exchange of ideas. Well, it turns out that we are hardwired for this stuff. And the good news is that we are conscious beings. So we can rise above that and recognize that we have some of this in us. So he says this, and the results of his experimentation, his observation is that human nature is selfish. And by that he means that our minds contain a variety of mental mechanisms that make us adept at promoting our own self-interests. Now, I would actually call this selfist. Like you're either a leftist or a rightist. We're selfist rather than selfish, right? Because that's kind of has a, selfishness has a choice to it. Selfist it's just kind of the way it is. So, our minds contain a variety of mental mechanisms that make us adept at promoting our own interest, selfist, and in competition with our peers. And then, at the same time, we also have, as human nature, we have a groupist way of being also, which means that our minds contain a variety of mental mechanisms that make us adept at promoting our group's interests in competition with other groups. So that we are not saints, but we are sometimes good team players. Right? And what this means, of course, is that we tend to gather with people who share the same beliefs that we do. And when we do that, we're not having we're not having conversations that are pollinating, really. Right? We want to pollinate with new ideas, so that's a hybrid. A hybrid idea can then come forth. Right? So, what's that got to do with religious science? Well, as people of faith, there's work for us to do. Because as people of faith, we really understand that there is a power greater than we are that's at work in the world, and that we can use it. All right, and so for most of us who've been in this teaching for a while, we've used it to get the new car, upgrade the house, get a mate, and do, lose some weight, gain some weight, be more creative in some way, or just to have a better, more connected experience of life. These are all great things, right? And we can also use it for big things. We can use it to know that this infinite power and presence that is expressing itself in, through, and as this manifest universe has all the answers to these complex issues, and all we need to do is open up our consciousness, soften our heart, to allow the answers to come forward within our own circle of being, and then to share that and to work that, and then to allow that then to be an example for others. Right? So in a couple of weeks, we're going to be celebrating a Jewish carpenter who did exactly that. And he didn't set out to start a movement or a big old church. Right? And he led by what? By example. So we'll be exploring that. We'll be exploring this fellow, John Hyatt, a little bit more. Right? Because when we know that there's deeper subconscious thing, here's what we know. We know that we don't know. We know that we don't know, and through our spiritual practice, we become comfortable in knowing that we don't know. We become comfortable in the uncertainty while working in our own heart and our own mind to be guided to the next indicated thing. To the next indicated thing. For Ernest Holmes observed that everything in the universe is a unique individualization or expression of the one thing. And that one thing is the cause of all things. that there are no two blades of glass or grass that are alike, no two grains of sand, no two thumbprints, no two of anything are alike, and nothing ever exactly reproduces any other thing. So that's the first thing that we can practice, is to be comfortable in our uncertainty and to know that there's a greater expression awaiting our recognition of it. The other thing that we can do is we can practice inclusion right now with everyone, which takes a lot of courage, right? Particularly when we're set in our ways, to practice inclusion. So we can practice it here, practice it with someone that we don't know, even if we've been coming here for 5 years and there are people that we've never met. You've seen them around, but you've never met. To practice inclusion, right? To practice love as expression. And then the other thing that this is from Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual leader for Centers for Spiritual Living, because he said this, we're all after the same thing. We're all after the same thing, the continuation of and the connection to life itself. And that the secret to a happy life then is when we can live in joy, with all other beings. And that to know that the one ultimate cause is pressing against every individualization. Right? So that's all of creation, including you and me, flowing through it, or him or her. And that every event in the finite has an infinite possibility behind it. So let's take a breath on that one. Invite the musicians to come forward, exhale, just allow ourselves to be present with that idea for a moment. And so for this day, this Sunday, this Sabbath day, 2 weeks before Passover and Easter, that we step into this idea of practicing opening up and really seeing the divine at work in our life. Maybe get outside. Just allow the expression of spring in all of its grandeur just to take over, to breathe that air, the wonderful blossoms, to allow ourselves to open our heart and to connect with those with whom we meet. To know that in this way, then, we really are the light of the world in our own expression of that. That the Spirit of the Lord is upon us, pressed in, pressing against us, expressing as us. It's breathing us, we are breathing it. That we take this awareness into this day. Feel ourselves being shifted and lifted by that experience. And take that power into our work week this week. Allowing it to express fully and completely. See how that works out this week. And then come on back next week and let's check in with each other.
I
mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am alive. I am alive. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all I am divinity divine. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am
There we go. So I'm going to invite our friends, if you're watching online, this would be a great time for you to participate in our offering by going to our PayPal button on our website. And for the rest of us, I'm going to invite you to, as we prepare our gifts for the offering, the lads will take us into our offering chant. And Angela too. So I know many of you are stepping into the automated giving, which is great. That really helps support our center even when you're not here. And so we know for those who have participated in this way online, and by evidence of the gifts provided here this morning, that all of it is a demonstration of consciousness that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so from the joyous heart in which these gifts have been offered, we, representing the heart of this community, accept these gifts in joy, in love, and respect, knowing together they go forth to heal, to process, and to heal, To heal, to prosper, and to bless. The life and vision of each one here this morning. The life and vision of anyone connected to our center in any way. That we extend this blessing and these glad tidings to our friends here in our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, and our planet as well, that we know that all of it is an emanation of the very mind of the divine itself. To the extent that we soften our heart and with the insight of the divine see it in expression, this lifts our heart. We feel a sense of power that propels us into ways of living spiritually that not only bless our own lives, but those of our brothers and sisters who are sharing the planet with us as well. And that's a good thing, and together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. So please help me thank lovely Rita and Miss Chloe with their new spectacles. Yes, very nice. So I just wanted to take a moment. I have this thing that I'm calling the New Thought Angelus that I'm doing on Facebook right now. And I'm doing it until Easter. And so what this means is that I've been going online because I said, envisioning it came up that I wanted to be more prayerful. So that would be good for a minister to be, right? To be more prayerful. And so this thing kind of came out of that. And so it's just it's a quick spiritual mind treatment. It's an opportunity to reset your day. It's at noon. So if you've ever went to parochial school and you'd be out playing on the playground, and then the church bells would go off, and then you'd be, and then you're supposed to say the Angelus. So that's where it's coming from. So it's a New Thought Angelus. It's just a workday reset, really, is what it is. Did you get the kids? No kids. Okay. Thank you, Chloe. And so you can join me as Michael McMorrow on Facebook, and it goes on right around. I try to get going at noon, and that's every day now until Easter Sunday. So I don't know if anybody else is getting anything out of it, but I found I got a lot more done this week, and so that's a good thing. And then I also want to share the really sad news for those of you who know Jeannie Sterrett, that her husband Glenn died somewhat unexpectedly just the other day on Friday morning. So keep her in your treatment prayers. And for those of you who have experienced her support and lay pastoral care, maybe you could just take a moment and drop her a card and just, and just offer her your love and support as she works through this. Yeah. So with that, let's invite Reverend Nancy up and thank Angela Carol Brown for her gift of music today. And Mr. David Olivas on the pipes, and then Mr. Ken Francis, our musical director.
As the practitioners surround this room in love, join me in knowing that we have been blessed. Blessed with the awareness that each one of us are unique. And this demonstrates the diversity of spirit itself. And know that being unique is a blessing. And in that, we spread that blessing to others by appreciating their uniqueness. But we also reach out to each other to know and to understand that we are blessed in the love that surrounds us. And not only that love, but we are the health of the universe. And recognizing it and embracing it brings it closer to our hearts and closer to expressing it physically. And as divine beings, blessed with the love, the beauty, and the diversity of the universe, the abundance of life is all around us. And it is with love and appreciation that we accept these truths. We accept that we are creative expressions of life, And we go forth to share this in the way that is uniquely to ourselves. And God's blessing goes with us in each and every act that we participate in. For these words and these understanding of the law of the universe, we say thank you as we acknowledge this together and say, and so it is.
Please stand for the peace song.